From AccuWeather.com, this is AccuWeather Daily, a brief host-read article. It's weather news in a nutshell. Meteorological winter officially begins on December 1st. The season will have some meteorological twists and some turns that may end up with a surge of snow and blasts of bitterly cold air. As people prepare their skis and their snowblowers with snow on their minds, AccuWeather forecasters predict that the season will be mild for most of the United States, similar to last winter, which was the warmest on record. However, that is only part of the story, as waves of frigid air will periodically send freezing air across the country, along with more chances for some snow. So dig out your winter coats from the closet, get ready for the colder days ahead with AccuWeather's U.S. winter forecast for this season. Now, there are three key factors in the winter forecast. One of the major elements considered by AccuWeather's long-range meteorologists when crafting the winter forecast was La Niña. This phenomenon occurs when water temperatures near the equator in the eastern Pacific Ocean remain below the historical average for an extended period, which can significantly influence weather patterns across North America, including the trajectory of snowstorms. As AccuWeather's senior meteorologist and long-range expert Paul Pastelok explained, La Niña will be weak for most of the winter, and a weaker La Niña can allow other signals to kind of drive the pattern. Another player in the winter forecast is the polar vortex. Based on data from previous winters with a similar setup to the upcoming season, Pastelok said that February is the most probable time frame for the polar vortex to usher a blast of bitterly cold air across the eastern U.S., but added that is not a certainty. Now, a third factor is the temperature of the water in the Gulf of Mexico and the northern and northeastern Pacific. Water temperatures in the Gulf are expected to be higher than historical averages, which can translate to mild air masses for the central and eastern U.S. The warmer-than-average water temperatures in the northern Pacific could alter the storm track at times during the winter for the West Coast, impacting the entire U.S. Snow shovels will be needed across the Northeast and the Midwest this winter, although they could gather a little bit of dust during part of the season as the weather patterns play tug-of-war between mild and rainy and cold and snowy. Most areas in the Northeast will receive more snow this season than last winter. An uptick in snow is also likely across parts of the Midwest, including Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. However, the snow will be broken up by pauses in the cold, wintry weather, especially in the middle part of the season, as milder air from the Pacific flows across the country. December is the first month of meteorological winter and will bring brief blasts of cold air that will trigger lake effect snow. This is the opposite of last December, when little lake effect was seen in the typical areas, including Buffalo, New York, Marquette, Michigan, Erie, Pennsylvania, and Cleveland, Ohio. Snow is also possible this December in areas farther away from the lakes from typical early-season winter storms. Big changes will unfold during the opening weeks of January as a new weather pattern will promote milder air and less snow across the eastern half of the nation. A back-end surge to winter will bring the potential for multiple snowstorms from the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and through the Northeast. The risk of snow may also be accompanied by the polar vortex. New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh are a sampling of the cities predicted to have more snow than last year, in part due to more snow opportunities in February. Places such as Chicago and Buffalo may not only have more snow than last winter, but they also have a chance of snowfall totals for the season piling up more than the historical average this winter. Elsewhere, winter will get off to a warm start for millions across the Gulf Coast states and the plains, with it feeling more like an extension of autumn rather than the start of the coldest time of the year. And this will be the trend for most of the upcoming season. A combination of La Niña keeping the storm track over the northern part of the country most of the winter, above average water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, and mild Pacific air occasionally flowing into the plains and east will limit the potential for cold air to have a sustained presence across the southern U.S. Temperatures throughout the season could run more than 3 degrees above the historical average for most of the region, including Dallas, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Nashville. And this will result in a noticeable reduction in heating demand, which could translate to lower heating bills for families and businesses. If a significant surge of cold air delivers sub-freezing weather to the Gulf Coast and parts of Florida, it is most likely to occur in February, although the month as a whole is still projected to be milder than normal. The widespread warmth will be paired with drier conditions along the Gulf Coast states, which could cause drought conditions to grow and expand in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. When storms do roll through, they could bring a heightened risk of severe weather due to the overall mild conditions and the warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico. Now, it felt more like summer across part of the West as October kicked off with record-breaking temperatures. But the heat will soon fade, and the wet season will shift into gear before the official arrival of winter. The frequency of rain will gradually trend upward in November and December, along with snow in the mountains, with Pastelok saying that skiing in the West is looking really good, and it's going to get kick-started for the holiday season, with Thanksgiving and Christmas looking very good for skiers. Atmospheric rivers and storms from the Pacific Ocean will focus on the Northwest and Northern California before traversing over the Rocky Mountains as winter gets underway in December. Now, forecasters are warning that big changes will arrive around the time that the new year begins. January could be the wettest month of the winter for Los Angeles and San Diego, as well as areas farther inland across the Southwest. In February, the storm's focus will shift north, once again focusing on the Pacific Northwest and Northern and Central Rockies. And as a result, the ski season could come to an early end at the ski resorts in the mountains of Southern California, Northern Arizona, and New Mexico. La Niña winters typically do not result in frequent atmospheric rivers in California. But with a weaker La Niña predicted this winter, it could allow for other factors to dictate the West Coast weather pattern. This is what happened in the La Niña winter of 2022-2023, when nearly 40 atmospheric rivers hit the western U.S., many of which impacted California. That's all for now. For more stories and regional forecasts, visit AccuWeather.com. And for your local forecast at your fingertips, including a hurricane tracker, download the AccuWeather app. Enjoy the rest of your day, be safe, and I'll be back tomorrow with more from AccuWeather.